Hi guys, today I'm going to recap a 2010 Korean thriller movie called Midnight FM. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Film begins with a scene of a kidnapped girl in a taxi with a sounding radio. The girl has her hands tied and her mouth plastered. Suddenly a man enters the taxi and gives the girl a flower. The man then drags the girl out of the car and kills her. On the other hand, a group of people are having a party. It is a birthday and also a farewell party for a woman named Young, who is about to leave her job as a radio announcer for a radio program called Midnight FM. Young will be moving to New York to accompany her daughter named Soo to have vocal cord surgery there. Young has also worked as a TV presenter before working as radio announcer. She is so popular. Her popularity left her producer feeling lost and unhappy with her decision to stop working for the radio program. Before her last broadcast session, she called her sister to get her daughter to bed, as she and her daughter will fly to New York the next morning. Her daughter, Soo, is mute. Apparently, that night, her nephew also stayed at her house. When Young is about to enter her car, she realizes that her car tire is flat and then decides to ride a taxi with her friend. On their way to the radio station, a car crashes into their taxi. The car driver is about to attack the taxi driver, but because a woman suddenly tries to run away from the car, the man chases the woman instead. He then hits her. Young's friend wants to call the police, but Young forbids her because she does not want to get involved. After reaching the radio station, Young is getting ready for her broadcast session. Apparently, a man is standing outside their broadcast room. His name is Sun. He is Young's die-hard fan. He even knows her phone number. Young is annoyed by that man's presence. Her friend then comes out of the broadcast room and deletes Young's number from that man's phone. Sun says that he likes Young a lot because he thinks she has a divine voice. Meanwhile at Young's house, her sister is busy doing something. Suddenly, their dog barks continuously. At first, she ignores the barking. After the bark suddenly stops, she then realizes that something is wrong. She decides to check it. She is so surprised after knowing that there is a man standing in their kitchen, right in front of her. The man killed their dog. She tries to escape, but the man successfully catches her. Soo is awakened from her sleep and she sees her aunt is dragged helplessly. The man then hits her until she faints. Seeing that, Soo decides to hide from the man. After tying up Young's sister, the man, called Han, turns on the radio and listens to Young's broadcast. He then called Young and told her that he is holding her family hostage. At first, she does not believe the threat. As soon as she calls her sister and the person who answers the call is Han, she starts to worry. She immediately calls the police and asks the police to check her house. Meanwhile in Young's house, Han found Young's nephew sleeping. He then ties her. Realizing that the kid is not Soo, he asks Young's sister where Soo is. She lies to him by saying that she is in the hospital. While Han is enjoying listening to the radio broadcast, two police officers come to Young's house to do an investigation. Han lies to the police that he is Young's brother. Of course, the police do not believe him right away. They insisted on coming in and Han had no choice but to let them in. But Han immediately hits those police officers' heads until the police are dead. Han angrily calls Young and shows her the police officers and her family's condition. He threatens to kill them if Young tells the situation to anyone. He then asks Young to play him a song from a playlist he made. But there is one song from the playlist whose title is not mentioned by Han. He only told her that the song was the first song she played on July 18, 2005. Having no choice, Young immediately looks for the songs in the archive room. Unfortunately, the archive room is locked. Sun comes there and helps her to break the door. While she is looking for the song title from the archives, Sun suddenly tells her the song title. She is so surprised because the title Sun just mentioned is correct. She then immediately plays that song on the radio. Suddenly, Young receives a call from Han. He angrily tells her that she is playing the wrong version of the song. Being so disappointed, he cuts Young's sister's toe. Young is very upset. Now, she is asked to play a song she played in 2006, as well as the narration she said at that time. Because neither of her nor her friends remember what she said at that time, she decides to ask Sun. Surprisingly, Sun remembers exactly what she said back then. She then rushes to play that song with the narration she said at that time. Suddenly, their producer comes to their studio and scolds everyone because they messed up the playlist. He immediately changes the song playing on the radio. Knowing that the song is changed, Young becomes so panicked and tries to change the song back. Han then calls her angrily and kills her sister. After seeing her sister killed, Young faints. Her producer and all her friends look at her phone screen and now understand what's going on. After Young wakes up, she slaps her producer and blames him. Her producer tells her that the announcer set to replace her just got killed. Suddenly, Young's phone rings, and it turns out that Soo is calling her. She instructs her to hide in the playing room. After that, she asks her producer to prepare a broadcast car. She wants to do the broadcast while heading to her apartment, so Han will not notice that she leaves her studio. Before heading home, she calls Han to distract his attention. At the same time, Soo accidentally kicked a ball while trying to hide. Realizing there is another person in the house, he then tries to find that person. Apparently, Soo decides to come out from her hiding and helps her cousin to escape, but her cousin makes a noise so Han sees them. He successfully caught Soo's cousin while Soo successfully escaped from the house. When Young arrives at her house, she is so surprised because there are so many police there. Turns out her producer called the police. Unfortunately, Han has left the house earlier to catch Soo and successfully caught her. Suddenly Sun comes up and tries to stop Han. But he failed. And right before he killed Sun, he saw Young run toward him. He then decides to run away with the kids. On the other hand, it turns out that Han has schizophrenia, a mental illness that makes him experience hallucinations and think that he is a real hero. His obsession to listen to Young's broadcast program, which often talks about movie quotes, makes him become crazier. Because of this mental issue, he often kills criminals. The police also said that he had been imprisoned, but after conducting a mental health test, he was sent to a mental hospital instead. Han suddenly calls Young again and asks her to meet him somewhere. She rushes to the location by driving her car, and apparently Han has been waiting near the location. Because she can't control her emotions, she hits his car hard. After successfully harming Han, she rushes to find the kids. Suddenly, she meets Sun. He tells her that he wants to help her to find her kids. But suddenly Han appears behind Sun and attacks him. Young takes this opportunity to run and find her kids. Luckily, she found her kids, but her kids are trapped inside a cooler box. Han finds Young and manages to catch her. He brings her to his hideout. Inside his hideout, Han brings a man in front of her. Turns out that the man is the one who hit Young's taxi on her way to the radio station. Han tells her that the man is a pimp. Turns out that Han knows what's happened because he was the taxi driver. But the man tells them that the girl is his sister. He was angry with his sister for not coming home for a long time. Han then gives Young a gun and asks her to shoot the man. If she does not want to shoot the man, he would kill her kids by turning on the cooler box. She has a difficult choice, but she then realizes that Sun is trying to help her kids escape. Realizing that his hostages are escaping, he immediately kills the man and chases Sun. He successfully shot Sun's leg. When he is trying to kill Sun, he realizes that police have started to arrive and surround him. He decides to return to his hideout, but Young has already managed to break free. Han is so angry and immediately attacks her. Before the knife slashes her neck, Young successfully reaches for the gun and shoots him. Now, Han is dead. And finally, Young meets her kids and hugs them. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.